My name's Adam Manaka and I'm the Financial Controller for High Tech Oils. With our national capacity, we can now service Australian companies nationwide. Of late, we have now expanded into the New Zealand market. Here at High Tech Oils, we receive premium base oils and premium additive packs. Together, with our highly trained staff, we manufacture over 500 premium quality products. High Tech Oils is Australian made and Australian owned.
The final round of Australian Formula 3 marks the return of John Collins to the Premier Wings and Slicks category. The Sydney sider has added firepower this weekend as he carries the #1 plate on his car, having been officially awarded last year's championship. And Collins is excited to be carrying #1 aboard the McDonald's Gilmore Racer.
Chris Anthony had pulled out for this round, and yeah, we got a call from Errol asking if we want to come back for the last round. And you know, when you get offered these sort of opportunities, you can't say no, especially at the home track as well. And at that stage, we still didn't know what was happening with the championship. So for it to all be sorted, for the same car that I drove last year to be available at my home track, and then being able to run #1, I just can't believe how it all came about, and it's a really fitting way to close the door on last year. So I'm excited to be here, and I'm really excited to be running #1. It's been a year since I've driven these cars, or over a year. And the only other car I've driven in between is an LMP3 car for 2 days. So yeah, a little bit of a long time between drinks, but I'm sure I'll be able to get back on top of it pretty quickly.
So the champ, John Collins, back on the grid this weekend with McDonald's Gilmore Racing with #1 on the front of his car. He'll be looking for a big weekend, as he says, to get back into his winning ways in Australian Formula 3. We're one race down already this weekend. Race 2 was held earlier in the morning. We're going to have to take a look at that in just a second, Chad Nolan. But well, it's cool to see the fastest racing cars in the land at a high-speed aero racetrack.
Yeah, this is the kind of track that you like to race an F3 around here, and Phillip Island will be the two picks. This is the championship picture coming into it. We know Tim Macro has already wrapped up this title actually at Phillip Island. Chris Anthony's still very much in the hunt for a good result. Roland Legg's been fast here this weekend, and Cameron Shields is leading our national class.
He's been a revelation this season, Cameron Shields. Terrific stuff. Shane Wilson, incidentally, stepping up into National this weekend, having purchased an 07 car for the first time. Race 2 was a reverse top 4 from the Race 1 order, which put John Collins on pole for about 2 seconds because he popped the clutch, the car went nowhere, and everyone else went past, including Tim Macro and Roland Legg, who took the early lead, and the teammate there in Cameron Shields.
Wasting no time trying to get his way back through the field, Macro, after going back 2 rows for the start of this one in the reverse top 4, picking up some early positions. You had the feeling it'd be exciting watching Collins pick a couple up. Cool angle this one. The floor is obviously vital to the aerodynamic grip of a Formula 3 car. That's what they look like at work underneath.
Yeah, amazing camera. And Roland Legg, you saw, just make a mistake coming out of turn 3, and that allowed Macro through. The last thing he can do is give Tim a free kick, because he'll take it and sail through into the lead, which he did. And Cameron Shields got a little bit racy down the inside of Legg and grabbed that position away. No one could trouble this guy, though, already crowned the champion for a 3rd time, and he sailed away untroubled to another race victory for Alpine Motorsports, much to the joy of his team boss, Denny Rumble. So we're getting set for the final race of the season in Australian Formula 3, and for the category as we know it in its current format anyway. But as we come to it, we've got a bit of footage to show you, Chad Nalon, from qualifying earlier in the weekend. And just to show you the level that these guys operate, a little bit different to us. This is Tim Macro. He got pole position, his 6th for the season. It was a remarkable performance. And this is him on his hot lap, passing Cameron Shields, and some bit of fun with the onboard camera. So, start, finish straight, 230 k's an hour, turn 1. Look at this.
Oh, one-handed through one of the fastest and most highly G-loading corners in the country. And that is very cool. Tim Macro in his natural habitat, the cockpit of a Formula 3 car, where he's so exciting. He'll be off the front row alongside Cameron Shields, who's been Yes, very much a revelation. John Collins third, Ronald Legg fourth, Nathan Kumar will be inside row 3. But this will be a huge moment here for Shields, the final ever race. There's a lot on the line to say who can actually claim that they were the man who won it.
So ready for a start. Macro away. Good jump from him. Collins again struggles to get his car off the line. And he'll go nowhere. Legg goes to the wall and squeezes down the inside of Cameron Shields. And the youngster from Toowoomba squeezed out of second place. And Legg from North Queensland, Mackay, will try and sail around the outside of Macro at 2.
To make decisions so quickly in a car like this, particularly in the opening lap where it's wheel-to-wheel combat, the open wheelers, there is zero room for mistakes or errors. You have to be so trusting of the drivers that you're fighting with, and these 3 guys at the front have been deserving of praise all year long. Roland knowing that if he doesn't get in front of Tim Macro on the early stage of this one, that's why we've got so much attitude from the rear of his car, and it's going to be all over Red Rover. Good start, Tim Macro. Roland Legg needs to stick with him.
Incredible, isn't it, though? They make it look easy, these guys, and that vision from Macro we saw at the start of the race from qualifying, 235k through turn 1, one-handed, no problems. Their computers operate at a slightly different speed to mine. So, great start for Shields. He's up behind Roland Legg. Here's Collins. It wasn't a great start for the Gilmore Racing driver.
Going around just to the right-hand side of the steering wheel as well.
Gear stick down there. They don't run a paddle shift in these cars yet, anyway.
Looks like to me it was actually...
Yeah, maybe roll bars or brake bias. Probably brake bias, I would have thought. He's got a toe on Nathan Kumar, who's been a huge improver this year, and he'll get that position fairly easily. Nice pass. And there are the 3 leaders going into turn 1.
It's such a fast part of the racetrack. Even on old tyres, these cars can still get through that part of the track flat. Steady she goes at the moment. This man, hot favourite every time he shows up to any open wheel race. He's had a bit of a drive of the old school / new school machinery as well recently. The
Formula Thunder 5000, and he's loved driving that. Not a huge amount quicker than a Formula 3 car over a lap, but very different way it generates its speed. But he was at Phillip Island driving that car a couple of weeks ago and thoroughly enjoyed it. And part of the reason that Chris Lambden and Mike Borland and the team that are looking after that car got Tim involved was because of his relevant wings and slicks experience. And that was Collins. He's been out of the seat for 12 months in one of these cars. And the starts are always the most difficult part. Shields, meanwhile, not a bad start. Just bogged down a little bit.
And you'll see his best to cover Legg, didn't he?
Yeah, you'll see him come down the inside. Rolly team nicknames him Lightning. Very quietly spoken young man. Really good jump though.
There's nothing that Cameron Shields could have done about that. He went over as far as he humanly could before Legg would have been in the wall. Good defensive racing, but here's his chance to get him back down at turn 2. Teenagers shouldn't be this quick.
No, it's what were you doing when you were this age? It's crazy, isn't it? This kid's 15. So before this year, he only had 5 or 6 car races to his credit in his whole life. And he's already a race winner in Australian Formula 3 in the fastest race cars around. He's been an enormous talent.
He's part of the new Rat Pack, isn't he, out of Toowoomba? And he's really trying to fight for second. He's putting a hand up there because he's unhappy with the, I guess, extra amount of room taken at the exit of turn 5. There are limitations as to how wide you can run there.
They don't have the sensor this weekend for them, so it's judge of fact rather than a timing loop like you'd see at the supercars round here. So it's always a controversial thing, the track limits equation, when you've got a concrete runoff. It's been the topic of the year in Formula 1, hasn't it? They've been talking about that all season long, and it's not something that's going to go away. But Legg was very, very wide on the exit of turn 5 there. And you'll have to watch that, otherwise he might get pinged.
And if you do run wide there, you can carry more speed on the approach to turn 6, which is actually a pretty handy passing opportunity. So it's actually a good way to cover off getting past at 6 by running wide at 5. And he's in the toe here. Shields is close. Turn 2 is looming. He'll just lift a little bit through here because he's got a lot of that air taken off his front wing by Legg sitting there. Here he comes. Can he be late enough under brakes? Legg went really late under brakes.
And that might actually help Shields because they'll run side by side here. Awesome. This will be very close and Legg holds on. Good exchange.
Good scrap. It's not over yet.
Roland is driving that car so hard. Did you see it dance to the outside, to that yellow line outside of turn 3, skating around the rear end of car number 8. G's pushing hard, big slide through turn 5 again. So they both went so deep, and Legg went just a little bit deeper, and that opened the door for Cameron Shields.
That must have been the lap prior. And then he set him up once or twice. He ran wide at turn 5. Shields was not overly impressed about how that went down. And then the next time through, he managed to get side by side, but didn't do enough to make it stick. And he might have more problems yet, because here comes his very fast teammate.
So the Sydney-sider, John Collins, back in the series this weekend. Let's see how far past the 100-metre ball they go down there. Look at their two in front scrapping, and this is bringing Collins into the mix.
There's no better carrot in front of the nose of two drivers further up having a battle. One, you know that you're going to be faster than two drivers fighting, and two, you'll know you get two of them when you get there. So
exactly.
It's good motivation to keep persevering at the moment for the champ.
You'd half back yourself, wouldn't you? You catch these two guys who are purely focused on each other, cruise up behind them and put one on them. It's a good scrap though. A great fight between a couple of young guys who are driving hard. And Collins has caught him quickly this lap.
He just needs another moment like they had at turn 2, and he'll be right with him. We're right on board with Roland Legg. Queenslanders fighting away here.
Good run for Shields. Really good run for Shields. Difficult to overtake up here. It's not an overtaking opportunity in one of these cars, but if he gets it right through here, he'll be in the right position for a tow that we've seen already down the Sir Jack Brabham front straight here at Sydney Motorsport Park, and that's a pretty good run for Cameron Shields. So he'll tow himself up behind the Artec Motorsport Dallara. He won't get by turn 1, but what about turn 2 where they warred a couple of laps ago?
And this is what Collins needs. He wants them to draw level down at turn 2. Legg does what we thought he would. He goes defensive this time. Doesn't show the inside, and that will slow them down. Here comes Collins. We've got a 3-car battle officially on, but Shields has done enough to get the inside at 3. That's a great move.
Unreal racing between these two. Great bit of car control and positional awareness between the two of them to give them racing room, but Shields almost went the long way round.
Wow, Legg hangs onto that spot. I thought surely Shields would have him with a couple of right-handers, and here comes Collins.
He'll get him here, down the inside of his teammate, and gets it.
Oh, that's so frustrating.
It will be, and Shields just bounces out over the exit curve and loses a bunch of time. But that's what we were talking about with Collins. Just had that opportunity to sail up behind them, and it caught them unawares. And Shields didn't make a move to defend there at turn 6. And because they spent a couple of laps side by side, or a couple of corners at least, they weren't quite aware that Collins was there, and he was able to sail up the inside. And check this. Boom.
Shields won't be overly happy with the racing room that his teammate gave him at the exit there. There was nothing wrong with the move from Collins. He just thought Cameron that his teammate would give him a little bit more room at the exit to try and run with him. Let's see how John Collins goes now, working on the back of Roland Legg.
And again, good tow. It'll be a carbon copy of last time, so he would go to the outside, and this time he'll go really deep to the outside at turn 2, and he's already in front mid-corner. Legg has a big slide, they lock wheels, they rub. They just avoid an accident, and I thought Shields was going to gobble them both up through there.
Epic fight for second. Tim Macro's checked out, he's already in the showers as these guys fight and scrap for second. So rare that you see two cars lock wheels like this without it resulting in one of them shooting up to the clouds. Let's just check this out from the young Cameron Shields' point of view. He's licking his chops right now thinking, I'm in here.
This is great stuff. They're locking wheels, they're slowing each other up. It's like a computer game when the AI doesn't want to let you move. That's what they would have been feeling, and Shields thought he could get them both. He was smashing the X button trying to go faster. Look at the contact. How
did one of those cars not take off then?
All I can say is that it's one of the slower corners on the racetrack, so there just wasn't enough speed for it. What a great bit of racing, though. What a great way to end the year.
Good stuff. How fitting that this young man is going to win the last race of the year. We've got one off down there at turn 8. That's an awkward spot as well at the exit of the hairpin. But it's going to be Timmy Macro's weekend, and you'd have to say for the last race, it's deserving that this man would be claiming the checkered flag.
He's won more races than anyone else in the category. He's won more podiums than anyone else, more pole positions. He owns the record book in Australian Formula 3. He's been racing in it since 2005. He wins the final race, Tim Macro, for Alpine Motorsport, and he is the 3-time champion. And just for good measure, that's more championships than anyone else in the category as well. Collins fights his way to second. What an awesome drive from the Sydney sider. And Cameron Shields scrapped his way to third in front of Roland Legg, Nathan Kumar and Shane Wilson.
Look, it's just the perfect way to finish, as you said. Like, the team have done an amazing job. It's hard conditions here today, and we really got the car right in the end, and it was all won in the first 4 laps in the feature race. I couldn't be happier. The Alpine guys have worked really hard. It's their first year in the category, believe it or not, in championship class, so I can't thank them enough.
Great racing all year long in 2016. The outright championship looks like this, with Tim Macro getting the nod for the 3rd time, Chris Anthony hanging on for 2nd, and Roland Legg doing a really good job driving his way to 3rd. Nobody was ever going to touch Cameron Shields in that national class. He was simply stunning, but Nathan Kumar drove so well, and it's Shane Wilson getting the nod in the Kumo Cup.
And with that, we wrap up our coverage of the Shannons Nationals for 2016, a year of great highs. But after our trip to Phillip Island in September, it also became one of sadness as the racing community lost a great friend in Luke Spalding. Luke was an inspirational young man who sunk everything into forging a racing career while also fighting off the ravages of a cancer that just wouldn't go away. But as well as being a great driver and a great character, he was also a great human being. His efforts to raise money for people suffering the same ailment as himself meant he put more efforts to support them than his own career, but that's just the kind of guy he was. And while the world has lost Luke, if you ever met this bright, happy young man, you'd agree that in his 18 brief years, he won the fight to live life to the maximum. Luke is sorely missed, but his spirit will live with us forever, and we'll always be flying with 23.